Spiders from Mars? Not really. Stick around and you'll find out in a while. It's now late April and it's a little bit late in the season to be taking some of your overwintered plants out of store. You really want to get them out in March and get them going early April, but it's one of those things. And you can see here we're taking some begonia corms and dahlia tubers out of it. And this is one of the problems I have is overwintering things because I don't have a frost-free shed. And I've lost yellow begonias this winter time, so I'm going to renew them. And the other thing you can see there is Dahlia Bishop of Llandaff, and that's a new root that I'm going to have to soak. And you can see this on another video to get it plumped up before we make a fresh start. Now we're moving on to the overwintered dahlia tubers. And we see what these are like. The problem you have getting them through the winter time is that if you lift them too early or too late, then they will just rot away. So you have to wait until the frost brightens the foliage. Then that makes the tubers become dormant, and then they're safe to put into store. And we'll have a look at these. And already you can see there are signs of young shoots emerging, but the tubers don't look in tip-top condition. I have to say they look a lot worse than I expected them to be. We'll have to go across. So some shoots on that one that you can see poking up, and here we go again, two more, and that one's about the biggest of the lot by the look of it. So what you would normally do, this looks a little bit scary, be a little bit worried, but what you would normally do is to get these tubers to produce fresh shoots, and the fresh shoots you would use as green cuttings, and you would throw the tubers away and grow the cuttings on for the best quality flowers. Sometimes you could plant these tubers out, but you wouldn't get the same size blooms and you wouldn't get the length of blooming, and the plants wouldn't be as tall. But say, generally speaking, you sort of, you're such a happy planted dahlia that you'll accept that. This one doesn't look very good at all. In fact, I think it'll probably end up being chucked out. It looks very shriveled, but we'll give it a go and see what happens. I never throw a plant out until the last minute because they seem to have this determination to live. And here we go, another box in the Russian doll now, and this is the last one of all. And you can see I've got different layers put there to protect the plants, try and keep the frost out, keep them cool. And we've got Hessian on top, and underneath you can see there's paper. Paper's a poor insulator, but it'll keep things going. And these are Calla Lilies, and Calla Lilies are beautiful plants, they really are, but once again, they appreciate the warmth and the gentle position. All colours. There's yellows, pinks, blacks, whites. Absolutely stunning. The most common form is Untitled. And they produce these little roots, as you can see. And looking at them, they look a lot smaller. And then I remember putting them in because, of course, the critical thing is that these plants shrink during the winter time. And you've got to get to them before they shrink so much that they won't break dormancy. And I put them in paper bags to protect them from the frost, but also to keep them together, because sometimes these little roots tend to fall apart in storage, and if you get half a dozen or so things rolling around, then you want to know exactly what they are. And once again, you can see the shoots coming all over the place. What I intend to do is to just pot them out into a tray, or put them individually into pots if they're large enough, and put them in good light and hope they green up. It may take 2 or 3 weeks. But we wouldn't be planting them out here in the UK until late May into June, when not so much you've got warm days, but the cold nights have gone. So we'll have to wait and see. But you notice I've tied the labels to each of the roots, and that hopefully will sort of prevent any muddle. But you will get a couple floating around, and I tend to sort of just put those to one side, and it comes out as a sort of mystery bag, and we see what happens with them. Spread them out, and what we will do then is just to either half bury them in sheet trays or to put them individually into pots to allow them to grow on, and then gradually increasing the size of the pot till you end up with a 15 centimetre pot before planting them out in the open. And finally we come to the spiders from Mars, tucked away underneath, and I think you can work out what they are by now, but you can see well wrapped up in a blanket of sawdust and a little bit of dry compost around them. Yes, of course, the begonia corms, as you can see. And I suppose begonias rank up there with dahlias in being very generous with their flowers. Though I have to say, when I first saw these, I was rather alarmed, and I thought, well, we're going to get anything at all this year. But once again, as I say, I hope just by putting them in full light, they will begin to respond, green up, and the leaves will open. We see what happens. I may have to snap one or two off just to encourage younger ones to grow, but I must admit, overall, just looking at them, it was rather a scary sight. And just taking them out now and checking them, and the sawdust sort of keeps the frost out of them, keeps them dry, and just a little bit of compost that was on them when I took them out of the pots last year, hanging around them. And I'll store the sawdust and reuse it. The card is a pretty poor insulator, so that'll keep the frost out as well. And once again, you can see each one is individually labelled, and I've tied the string to the label and tied the string then with the label on it to the corm itself and put them out. And one thing you will notice as we gradually spread them out, that they're not all the same size, because they're all 2, 3, 4 years old since I've been growing them, so they're getting on and sort of settling down now, and they are getting bigger and bigger, and you get better flowers for it. And one of the best ferns for corms is the Blackmore and Langdon near Bristol, who's put on wonderful shows at Chelsea, and we just need to check them over now to make sure that there's no rots, no diseases there. Give them a little shake, tap the last of the compost out of the hollow, so we don't want to sort of get underneath that and see. And I'll brush the sawdust off later on, just get a real look at it. But one of the little things that we're looking for is this pesky critter, the vine weevil, which overwinters quite comfortably and then begins to munch away at them this time of the year. Just crush them. Some of them may be damaged, but don't panic over it. Just crush them, and then that'll be the end of that. And then the vine weevil won't be laid again until later in the spring. But go around them, and as I say, make sure this one here is a bit soft. It's one of the ones that I cut in half last year. But I'll try and dry it off. I'll point it towards the sun and try and harden the layer so it's okay. But these all are pretty good now. I've been around them all and checked them. And as I say, apart from those shoots on the top that look a little bit scary, it's new territory for me. I've never dealt with plants like this before, so we'll give them a go and see what happens. And just before we wrap up, I'm sorting through, and this is one of the corms that we saw early on, and alongside it is one of the ones that I've had for 3 or 4 years, and you can see the difference. And if you overwinter them, as I say, they will get bigger and bigger and bigger, and something to put up with. And this poor one didn't make it. You can see it looks a bit like a biscuit, but as I say, it didn't make it through the winter, and obviously all you do with that is just throw it away. Coming back to the one that I cut in half, that's the half that I saw with the soft face and one stalk. And you can see the other half will come up in a minute now, and it's hard to believe that these were both one this time last year. I cut them in half, looked equally, eyes on a pair of them, and if you look at it, you can see they're twins. And we will deal with potting these up in another video. And that's it for now. I just say diolch and thank you very much for watching.